For the legislative perspective, I want to go now to U.S. Congressman from New Jersey, co-chair of the House Pro-Life Caucus, Congressman Chris Smith. Thank you. Delighted to be back on set with you.
Good to see you again.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Congressman Smith, President Biden just announced that he now supports that filibuster, in getting rid of the filibuster in Congress in order to pass legislation establishing a national right to abortion. Here's what he had to say.
I believe we have to codify Roe v. Wade in the law, and the way to do that is to make sure the Congress votes to do that. And if the filibuster gets in the way, it's like voting rights require an exception to the filibuster for this action.
Now, Congressman, Nancy Pelosi has tried this twice and failed to get the votes. Is this just grandstanding in an election
Well, it's
year?
grandstanding, but we have to be very aware that if Joe Manchin were to flip, and he's been pro-life and embraces Roe versus Wade, which is abortion on demand, right till birth. I hope he knows that then everyone who votes for that are directly responsible for an expansion of abortion in this country, and every abortion, at least in part, will be attributable to their work, their vote. So there's direct responsibility now. We can't say, oh, the court made us do it. The court has now said, lawmakers, it's up to you. And with Biden saying, Biden has become the abortion president. When he first ran, we thought, well, he's with us on the Hyde Amendment. Then he did an infamous flip-flop on that. And now he is just 1,000% domestically and internationally promoting abortion. It was at the G7. He promotes it at the World Health Organization, at the United Nations, everywhere, and especially here in the United States.
Well, and there's a double-edged sword that you would think both parties would have recognized at this point. Blowing up the filibuster is always a bad idea because guess what? You will be out of power someday.
That's right.
And you'll need that filibuster to balance things out and to have some say in the debate. Well, they both seem heedless of that right now. But House Democrats seem willing to risk it. And here's my question. Assuming the Republicans maintain or gain rule of Congress next season, what are they going to do?
Well, right now we're still in defensive mode because we don't have enough votes to overcome a veto by the abortion president, Joe Biden. But we will have the power of the purse. So we can make sure that those accounts that are aiding and abetting Planned Parenthood, which is now directly responsible for over 8 million dead unborn babies, and other groups like that, we could look at that area, make sure that all the riders, like the Hyde Amendment, the amendment that I did on federal employees' health benefits, ban on abortion, that's 8 million people and dependents that are, if he switches that, they are now paying for abortion on demand.
Well, now you have talk from Elizabeth Warren and others saying we need to have abortion tents at national parks. You could do it at military bases so that you would have outposts of abortion on federal lands.
I hope the American people take a really good look at all of this because, and men and women of faith will realize that who you vote for absolutely matters. These people have an agenda that say that the unborn child is so much garbage and can be killed on demand right up until birth, and some even suggest even after birth, and that's why the Born Alive Act needs to be enacted. There's an obsession with taking the lives of unborn children, and we need to say, love them both. Help the mother, help the baby. Pregnancy care centers are being firebombed and vandalized and terrorized as we talk. Where is Biden on that? Nothing. His attorney general has, crickets. He ought to be out there saying, no violence. Anybody who does this will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He's doing nothing like that.
I have to shift gears. The Democrats are urging the president to declare abortion a national health emergency. Is there any credibility to that? Does that cure anything, if you will, and open up abortion to a federal right?
No, it doesn't. And matter of fact, it's part of a horrible knee-jerk reaction by the pro-abortionists to the Dobbs case. Justice Alito wrote a brilliant brief concurred in by the majority. He's from my hometown originally, so we're all very, very proud of him. He's brilliant, but he's also unbelievably ethical and a man of humility. I mean, he's not a braggart in any way, shape, or form. He's written a great Now, the other side is trying to say, they're just being obsessed. I mean, including Senator Warren. I mean, I saw her really lose it even before when the leaked version came out. These are babies. Ultrasound has shattered the myth that there's not a baby there. We know there's a baby there. Birth is an event that happens to each and every one of us. It's not the beginning of life. Why is it okay to dismember, to behead? That's what decapitation abortions do. It beheads the child, takes their head off. I think that is barbaric. And we got to start calling it for what it is. They just sidestep it, look the other way, and act as if it's not happening, and it hurts women.
There was a national meeting the other night. It was a
on it.
webinar. You were there. Life After Roe.
Yes.
What happened there? What are you hearing from these not only activists, but people who have been on the front lines of caring for mothers and their children all over this nation for 49 years?
Oh, they've been amazing. The crisis pregnancy centers, for example, approximately 3,000 of them, and they'll need to grow and expand their capability, which is a good thing, a great challenge. But many of them spoke, and they were articulate and as compassionate as the day is long. They love them both. And once the baby is born, they're still there, backstopping, helping that woman in any way, shape, or form through an unintended pregnancy. So that's the loving response. The terrible response is to say, just kill the baby, because that injures both mother and baby. So and a lot of them spoke about, how legally, legislatively, voting-wise, people have to make sure they vote in this election. And people of conscience don't just say, oh, it's going to happen. The Republicans may take control of the House or Senate or both. It only happens if we make it happen with the grace of God, because we got to put a tourniquet on this abortion culture.
I have to get your take on some news that broke earlier this week. Nancy Pelosi met with Pope Francis on July 29th. Not only that, she attended a papal mass where she received communion. Now, the speaker, as we've reported for weeks, has been denied communion by her Archbishop, Salvatore Cordileone, in her home diocese of San Francisco. And he did so for her persistent and public support of abortion on demand. What message does this send the faithful and the bishops to have the Speaker of the House, who supports something so at odds with church teaching, welcomed and feted at the Vatican?
Well, my hope is that the Pope said something to her one-on-one. I don't know that, but if he did, he ought to let us know that. It is important, even with someone with whom you are diametrically opposed, to speak truth to power. And I hope he did that. And there's different ways of pastoring. My hope is that the Speaker of the House and others will rethink their own position. We pray for our opponents. We love those who are persecuting unborn children. It's the beauty of this movement. It's the beauty of our church. But I think we need to radiate. One of the things, if you're going to radiate Christ, which is obviously what the Pope and our bishops do, they also have to speak truth to power and to be totally, and I mean totally, transparent about it. This is, if I'm just John Q. Public and I'm for abortion, okay, what does that really do? Maybe my vote is the wrong way in the next election. But when you're in Congress in a strategic position, it goes for the courts too, where what you do enables, funds, empowers the abortionists to kill babies, it's a whole level of responsibility that can't be overlooked. And I read the papers, they're always saying, it's because of her position. Or any of the others. It's not just their position, it's their outright advocacy of something that leads to the direct consequence of dead babies.
I'm going to take a slightly different tack on this. Just watching this from a media perspective, there's no doubt this was a deliberate and staged meeting at the Vatican. And I think it was intended to send a message. Look, Nancy Pelosi didn't scalp those tickets, Chris Smith. You can't buy those tickets. Someone gave them to her and placed her near the front of the church, within view of the cameras. The papal meeting was clearly orchestrated after all these years of struggle as a pro-life Catholic. How did you receive this when you saw this happen?
Well, I felt a sense of disappointment. John Paul II would meet with anyone and everyone. Cardinal O'Connor, I'll never forget something that Cardinal O'Connor told me, that Senator Moynihan wanted to always get the picture at the cathedral in New York City. And he said, I'll meet with you anytime and talk, but to get the picture, you got to be pro-life.
Oh, wow.
Cardinal O'Connor told me that.
Well, consistency. And I think no matter where you are on this issue, being who you say you are is an important thing, that authenticity. There's a lot of talk now about court packing, Congressman, and expanding the number of justices on the court. Do you think that's possible, legitimate, or even in the offing?
It's certainly not legitimate, and I think it's I mean, court packing can go both ways, as
Right.
you know.
Yep.
We think we'll take control of one or both houses. I just think it's a sign of weakness on the part of the other side, and very unfortunate. They don't play by the rules. And we have all these years, we've been disappointed. 3 out of 5 of the justices appointed by Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush turned out to be pro-abortion. Talk about disappointment when the Casey decision was handed down, and Sandra Day O'Connor created a brand new burden to protecting life called the undue burden. That was used to knock down a lot of state laws that were put up. So we've had disappointment. But I don't think it's going to prevail. FDR tried it. I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think they'll have the votes for it. Just like on the filibuster, I would hope that will be You can't just isolate and say for one issue the filibuster will be null and void. Once it's gone. It's gone on everything.
Right. Because when Mitch McConnell gets back into power, he'll say, well, I've decided to suspend it for taxes and for this. I mean,
Pandora's box will be
You're
open.
unleashing furies in the institution and demolishing that institution.
That's true.
And I pray we don't go down this road in either party. It's horrible.
Right.
It's bad for the republic, and it's bad for every citizen of the country.
And Raymond, several of my bills have been held up, including 3 times passing no taxpayer funding for abortion, making it permanent, taking abortion out of Obamacare, which they lied and say it was not in it. It's in it big time. I got it passed 3 times in the House. Bipartisan bill, but it was my bill. Goes over to the Senate, it's gone. Without the filibuster, we will get it. And many other pieces of legislation.
Congressman Chris Smith, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Raymond.